that doesn't sit right with me. That just doesn't sit right with me. And again, you can look at every piece of this objectively and go, there's a lot of things that don't make sense. And why do we have Turning Point unwilling to offer information that could help make it make sense?
Let's talk about the crime scene a little bit, because one of the things that I found strange was how quickly the scene was tampered with in a way that would bury potential or possible evidence in order to help indicate and find who actually killed Charlie Kirk. So can you go over some of what you find strange? So there was the whole paving over of that area.
Yes.
What do you know about that?
So what we know, and this is what has been shared by the person who directly put down the pavers. So this is not like, oh, he did an interview, he explained everything. He got a call over the weekend asking him to come in for what was described to him as an emergency paver job that was being done because the FBI and the governor of Utah were requesting it. Now, what we do know about that entire area of that courtyard is it was under FBI control. That came out in the preliminary hearing. They described which zones everybody was in control of. And for whatever reason, our FBI, who should not have been involved in this case at this stage. There's no reason for the FBI to get involved in a state crime. Didn't happen across state lines. They decided, giddy up, we're going down immediately and we are going to be in control of the courtyard. So what he's saying would make sense. The FBI was in control. And on Saturday, they had a team come in and dig out and remove all of the dirt. And then on Sunday, a separate team came in and put down pavers. And they said it was an emergency, it had to happen. And so he basically testified, he went on a podcast, so it wasn't like a official testimony, and explained, I didn't know, I'd never in my entire career heard of a paver emergency that couldn't wait until the next week. And they had him lay down pavers. And in the process, they moved about 12 inches of soil. They wanted 12 inches of dirt removed and to have pavers put down. Well, now moving that dirt to put down pavers makes sense. You have to remove dirt to put down pavers, but what is the emergency? This is a crime scene. Why would you do this? None of that makes any sense. And so it's another thing where you go, they literally paved over the crime scene, began paving over the crime scene within 72 hours. It's just an absolute nonsense.
I remember you talking about how the authorities also provided Erica Kirk with material that should have been maintained as part of the investigation. Can you just quickly go over that?
Absolutely, and so in any traditional scenario where there is an unsolved crime, even if there is a solved crime, you're going to keep certain things into evidence until you get to the trial, right? That's just, and of course, every one of Charlie's personal belongings is going to be assumed that it needs to go into evidence.
Right.
And you will recall that there was sort of this moment where the public really first saw Erica, and she's hanging out of the window and she's holding Charlie's St. Michael necklace, his St. Michael pendant, and it's on a chain. Now, there are some people that say that chain actually was not the original one he was wearing and it had been switched, but we do know that that is his St. Michael pendant. She then featured it and discussed how he loved this pendant and how she would get him a new pendant fixture every year. That's completely crazy. How would you just give that immediately back to Erica and not see that as evidence? And we found it strange that so many people who were there that day had like a personal story about the pendant that made no sense. Namely Frank Turk. He told a story and his story has shifted somewhat. And he says it's fine, everyone has different memories. But he says that, when he got to the hospital, they were securing the car. That was another piece of evidence that they got rid of. They towed the car and wanted it cleaned and resold within 72 hours. I mean, the whole thing is just so crazy that you would tow that car in 48 hours that had Charlie in it and could potentially have some evidence. But he tells a story about the pendant, Frank Turek, where he says he went out to the car and first the FBI wouldn't allow him to get his belongings. And then he said, where's Charlie's pendant? Because I know Erica wants it. And the FBI said, no, you can't have it. And he said, no, I demand it for Erica, and they just gave it to him. Like, that's not really a believable story. And I'm sorry that the FBI said, oh, well, if Erica's emotional and looking for it, here you go. None of it really makes any sense.
Okay, I have so many questions. Okay, for our audience members, let them know who Frank Turek is, because they might not be familiar. Like, what is
so
role?
Frank Turek is one of about 20 people who claim that they were Charlie's personal pastor. I find that to be very strange as well. He was with Charlie in the days leading up in Arizona. And for some reason, Charlie needed a rabbi, a priest, and a pastor. I kid you not, in the 48 hours leading up. And they all say that it was because he just wanted to strengthen his debate skills, something that Charlie's been doing for 10 years. He just really wanted to work on his debate skills. Anyway, Frank Turek accompanies Charlie to this event, which is obscure to me that he would be doing that. And then he's kind of filming on his phone, says that he's on FaceTime, rather, is what he says, with his grown adult 35-year-old kids in the middle of a day because they just love Charlie Kirk so much and they want to hear him speak. And mind you, that son that he's referring to, I'm pretty sure is in the military. And the shot happens and Frank Turek jumps into the back of the car to accompany Charlie to the hospital. And he did a media blitz thereafter and told a lot of stories about what he did in the car and spoke about this necklace that Charlie was wearing and how it was just sitting on his backpack when he was at the car. And the Fed said to him, "Oh, there it is." What do you mean, "Oh, there it is"? How did the Feds know that Charlie was wearing a necklace? There it is. Why were they looking for Charlie's necklace? These are all sorts of unanswered questions that we are asking. Like, why were the Feds looking for it? Why were you looking for it? Why did Erica want it? Why couldn't this have gone into evidence first and been returned to her at a later date? And I'm told by police officers the usual process is they take everything and then the Attorney General of the state has to sign off if you want anything personal back. For some reason, they violated all of that for Erica, allegedly. We did see her holding it the very same day. So
what I also don't understand, and there might be a reasonable explanation, you would know better than me because you've done so many of these types of events alongside Charlie. After Charlie is allegedly shot, why is he being transported to the hospital in an SUV as opposed to an ambulance? Like, doesn't Turning Point USA usually have like an ambulance nearby in case something happens?
Every single event that I have done has had an ambulance on the side. This is brand new. I mean, everything that day was brand new. I showed how I even texted, like Terrell didn't come to the events. Terrell didn't sit to the side of us. All of that started, and I describe it as sort of boiling the frog. Ironically, the one time, the one semester, so to speak, that I did not go on tour with Charlie, everything changed. They now have him up on a platform. They have him wearing this double mic. They have this camera behind his head. We never had cameras behind our head. You can go back and find the footage. I mean, I have toured with Charlie from 2019 until spring of 2024. I really appreciate how many tour stops I've done with Charlie. And so I was able to immediately look at the situation and go, what is this? What is all of this? Why is Terrell there? My first question, what is Terrell doing here? He does the big events. He's the CEO of the audiovisual company. This is like a chump change event. I've done UVU with Charlie before, literally have done that exact school. You can go find the footage. What are we doing here? And Terrell said to me on the phone, we were trying something new. He kept saying that we were trying something new. What was new that you were trying? He said we wanted immediate, feedback back to the ops back home, so we could cut clips the fastest. Like someone's racing to beat Turning Point at cutting these clips, and so it makes me uncomfortable that there were so many admitted by Terrell new fixtures immediately as they got me out of the picture, putting pressure on Charlie regarding Tucker Carlson as well as me, following my firing from the Daily Wire. And then a year later, Charlie's dead. That doesn't sit right with me. That just doesn't sit right with me. And again, you can look at every piece of this objectively and go, there's a lot of things that don't make sense. And why do we have Turning Point unwilling to offer information that could help make it make sense?
Yeah, that's the part of this that's so strange to me, Candace, because it's usually the same group of people who are like, oh, there's nothing to see here when it comes to the Epstein files. Usually people who defend Israel's undue influence over our government and the wars that we fight on their behalf. It's always the same group of people who are not only hounding you and just trying to make you out to be crazy, while, by the way, totally ignoring your arguments, never engaging in the substance of what you're saying. They just try to defame you. Okay, it is what it is. But what's strange to me is, don't you want these questions answered? Like, don't you want to get to the bottom of what actually happened that day? Very likely that Tyler Robinson is involved in some way. Is he the only person involved?
And I've been saying that.
You have been saying that. Yes, you have been saying that. Yeah.
Like I've never said I think he's completely innocent. I say I do not believe he fired a shot and killed Charlie Kirk. So for what is being brought against him, I think he is innocent of. Could he be an accessory to murder? Was he burying clothes and hiding it, taking instruction from his boyfriend? I know he was around campus that day. I was told by a Robinson family member that he did not step foot on campus that day. And so, yeah, I feel like it's not like we're being crazy here. We're asking Turning Point to help assist us. And the most disturbing part of all of this for me is that his wife is not telling the public the truth about so many things that she could easily tell the truth about. And this is not some widow that went home and is averse to publicity. If she was like, I don't care, I'm not getting involved, my focus is my children, and I'm camera shy, so to speak, you'd be like, okay, well, that's just who she is.
Well,
no, she's on tours. She's Shabbat and she's Shalom and she's talking to everybody. You can't keep her away. She went right into the office that week and led a call giggling about emojis. How are you out of bed? I'm sorry, like, are you trying to tell us that it's not reasonable for us to expect you to mourn longer than 72 hours? The world who did not know him mourned longer. People who did not like Charlie Kirk mourned longer, and just because it was so traumatizing. I think everyone felt less safe after Charlie got hit. And you watched it. I felt this like suddenly so insecure to go outside. She sits down with Jesse Waters and she says, he's like, were you scared? She's like, no. God's got me. He's like, have you lost sleep? She's like, no. Are you taking any medicine? I don't need any medicine. It's great. It's like, okay, you're Superwoman, I guess, or something. I don't like it. It doesn't feel right to me. And I have a right to form an opinion on Erica based on her public actions.
Well, one of the actions that honestly made me a lot more critical of Erica Kirk came up in the context of your debate with Andrew Wilson, because he opened the debate by reading an alleged text message that Charlie Kirk sent. And just to kind of sum it up, and I'm not reading it verbatim, I want the audience to know that, Charlie Kirk communicated in that alleged text message that he wanted the security to be bolstered because he's worried about someone on the left trying to kill him. Which is strange because that was allegedly a text message that Turning Point USA, it could have only been one person, Erica Kirk, because she's the one with his phone. She provided that to Andrew Wilson. Okay, first of all, why are we hearing about this now? Okay,
right.
Why are we hearing about this now? If that text message is real, if it really does exist, wouldn't you want to put that out immediately? Because she has 100% backed the theory that Tyler Robinson was the one who shot and killed Charlie Kirk, and that he was motivated by Charlie Kirk's views on the transgender community, right? That this was motivated by left-wing hatred of Charlie Kirk. Okay, wouldn't you want to release that text message immediately then? She didn't.
Right,
she waited.
Your point.
So there's that. But also, Candace, I recall Erica Kirk saying in an interview that he sent no text messages saying that he feared for his life. Now, that was in the context of people speculating that he was in fear of Israel coming after him. And so she's like, no, I have his phone. He never texted anything about being in fear of getting killed. Okay, but what changed? Because now all of a sudden there's this text message that alleges that he was afraid of someone on the left trying to kill him. I don't know, that inconsistency is really weird to me and shows a little bit of dishonesty that's gonna make people question anything that is gonna be claimed moving forward.
Every time you ring the bell below, an angel gets his wings. Totally not true, but it does keep you updated on our live shows.